A forgotten crisis, and Antonio Guterres on a visit to a camp in Balochistan to remind the world of the plight of Afghan refugees. They're grateful for the attention of the head of the UN Agency for Refugees. Almost 4 million Afghan refugees have taken the road home over the years, but hundreds of thousands remain in camps or in slums like this one, on the outskirts of the affluent capital. The contrast is stark. 4,000 people live here. There's no education, no healthcare, no running water, no electricity. Some of the people who live here have been in Pakistan for 30 years, and yet they're still refugees. They're still not Pakistanis. But I've come here to this dwelling on the outskirts of Islamabad to find out whether anybody here actually wants to go back and what their life is really like. And we've come here to meet Sher Khan. Salam alaikum, salam alaikum. And we're going to go into his home now to talk to some of the village elders. No, they tell me they have nothing to go back to. No land, no homes. They've been in Pakistan since they were boys, and yet they still feel unwanted. We need Pakistani national ID cards, they tell me. Their refugee papers don't allow them to buy anything, not even a SIM card. They're worried their illegal slum will soon be destroyed. Pakistan's patience as a host country is running out, a 3-decade-long problem for Mr. Guterres as he struggles with another refugee crisis. You're dealing here with the most protracted refugee crisis, but you've recently described the Syria refugee crisis as something that goes beyond anything we have seen. What lessons from this region can we take when we look at the Middle East and the Syria refugee crisis?
I think that the most important lesson is to have the humility as a humanitarian agency, to recognize that humanitarian agencies will never solve a crisis. The solution is always political. The problem in Afghanistan has always been a political problem that was never effectively addressed. And what we need to avoid at all costs is that the Syria crisis becomes another Afghan crisis.
Do you think that in 20 years, in 30 years, we'll be looking at the Syrian refugee crisis there the way we're looking at the Afghan refugee crisis here?
I think we need to avoid it at all costs.
Back in the Afghan slum, the men have a message for Syrian refugees. Don't let the world forget you. Kim Ghattas, BBC News, Islamabad.